What's up, SOSers?
What up, players?
What up, saucers?
So we're back. This episode, we're back. I don't know if you know this, but we're back.
We've been back for a long time.
Always will be back. I don't know where I'm going. Let's restart.
Oh, no, it's good. It's good. We have a fun episode today. We have actor Christopher Watson here, Christopher Mychael Watson, and he's so talented. He's in so many fun projects.
Yeah, a lot going on.
A lot going on. This Hulu show, Reasonable Doubt, produced by Kerry Washington. This movie Gaslit with Julia Roberts, Tyler Perry, All the Queen's Men. And he's also a really successful voiceover actor. We met doing a video game, Archangel, and he's done so many cool things. We've done Walking Dead together, and he was a really big part, I wanted to ask him in the interview, but that's fine. In Resident Evil, a huge game. So he's so accomplished and so talented and so sweet, and we got him on to talk about his journey. And
yeah, this is a really beautiful conversation. And if you are an artist, you don't have to be an actor, musician. If you do any form of creativity as a hobby, as a career, anything,
or interested in it.
Yeah, this conversation is really cool because we just get into how you blend, how different forms of creativity and art inform other aspects of, what you might do or what you might be interested in, kind of like fueling yourself by practicing your other hobbies, your other facets of your craft. So it's a good one.
Yep. So without further ado, here's Chris. All right. Thank you so much, Chris, for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking me. It's a pleasure to see you again and to meet you for the first time, Molly.
You as well. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm always like, we've been doing this for, I guess, 2 years. And I'm always just like, oh my God, people want to spend people are shocked.
People want to talk to us. It's
I like to say I like to do my homework, so I went back and listened to, I think, Alexa Cordry. It was your last episode. Fantastic. I learned so much from her, and
she was great.
And just the vulnerability that you both expressed on the podcast. It was just it was really touching. And
thank you.
Great stuff. So thank you.
Oh, of course. Oh my God. I mean, we are very lucky that we have guests that are dope and that we want to talk to. So honestly, it's just a testament to them and to you for being here and talking with us. Before we get started, we want to know what your SOS moment is. I know there's a billion in our lives, but anything that kind of stick out.
Well, relating more so to my career, I've had a certain SOS moment happen more than once. And for me, that has been, I've been replaced sometimes in the day before shooting.
Oh,
no.
And, that will erode, your confidence sometimes. And
when that happens, because I don't act at all, so I don't know anything, but do they tell you why? Or is it
not really? Usually this last moment that it happened, and this was maybe last year, it wasn't that long ago. It was for a commercial, which I understand, is very looks based. It's very, what they're going for, but I guess they had a changing of creative direction, I think they said, or they brought on someone new, the day before.
Yeah.
They asked me if I wanted to be a backup instead of the lead, which I had booked. And those type of things, especially when there's been a drought, especially when you
I know
it hadn't been working for a long time. And actually this first happened to me in college. I went to Florida State University, and there was a great film school there, and I had done a few projects with them. One in particular was the first I had done, it was this heavy makeup thing, and they didn't tell me. I showed up to the premiere thing, and they replaced me completely with and again, it was a looks thing. I was supposed to be this 80-year-old wizard, but it's I have that. I can play. I have that range.
Right.
Yeah. But a lot of it is a lot of this industry in particular is just having to sit down with your ego and really just check it and just understand that there are millions of people trying to do what you want to do. And anytime you get close, it's you should practice gratitude.
Oh, that is such a good thing to remind yourself.
That's a better thing to have in your head than Brandy's almost doesn't count because that goes through my head when shit happens. Just like, it doesn't matter because I didn't do it.
But there's something different to me about just not booking it. Like, okay, but then and then they take it away from you.
Yes.
It feels like a different level of a betrayal.
Yeah. And it does feel personal. Like there's you already chose me. So then a specific thing about me.
Right. There is something you don't like about
me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's specifically.
Yeah. Oh, God.
That sounds like a very fun SOS moment in the sense that it just keeps coming up, Just
and it happens a lot, whether it's like the night before a commercial or like a pilot, that just doesn't get picked up and you think that that's like anyway. But to backtrack, I know you said you went to Florida State, but where did you grow up first?
Sure. Yeah. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia originally.
Oh.
Southern boy. I got a lot of country roots, for better and worse. And I spent a majority of my life in the South, except for these last 10 years I've been out here in California. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So then you went to Florida State and then you came out here, right?
Yeah, I got my BFA in acting from Florida State University School of Theater. Then I went back home to Atlanta and I worked regionally doing some theater, the Shakespeare Festival, the Alliance Theater, which is one of the Southeastern. Yeah, it's one of the bigger Southeastern theaters down there. That was our home theater. And I did some commercial work, some TV work out there. And then like after about 3-4 years, I punched my ticket to LA, man.
That's so interesting. That I was going to ask, because Atlanta has such a bustling, like little Hollywood going on. I mean, like, especially, it was different.
But then it didn't, right? Yeah.
And that was the thing. They were still booking the lead roles, even any talking role. It was coming from LA. And then sometimes they were letting like local talent in, but like I knew a lot of like theater like staples in Atlanta, like people who had been there since I was a child, and I watched them on theater. And they can't catch a break. They can't get work there because it's just so saturated. Yeah. I think they still just don't trust the pool of talent sometimes.
That's the thing. It seems like, in recent years, I've noticed just from my friends who are acting and working, it's like a lot is happening in Atlanta, but they're being, like you said, they're being booked out here and flown to Atlanta. They're filming in Atlanta. And so it's like the casting's happening out here and the actors are coming from here. I don't know if that's still the case, but I noticed that a lot, where everyone's like on location in Atlanta, but then it's like, okay, you're not casting there though.
Yeah, that literally just happened to me. I just went home about 2 months ago for about a week and a half to do some work. And, I don't think I would have gotten that role. I might've booked something out there, but I don't think I would have gotten a role that large being in Atlanta.
Yeah. That's interesting too. Like, I feel like it has to be because it's just cheaper to be making stuff out there, because like the permits and shit in LA.
Yeah, it's like filming in Canada.
Intense.
Wide open down there. And the state is receptive to it. The state, it brings a lot of money to them. So there's the last time I went there, it's bustling. You're right. I worked on the Tyler Perry studio, and it's literally just, you can't imagine how expansive it is. Like there's no studio in Hollywood that even has the room to be as big as he's built. Like he has 2 replicas of the White House on there. He has
I saw that on YouTube.
Working neighborhoods, like water, where he houses his actors. Like it's just
houses his actors. It's like a farm.
It's like the Truman Show. It's like the true like
a compound, right? I'm like,
yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, but the cost of living in the South in general is much, much cheaper.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But what was acting like always your passion? Did you want to go and get and major in acting from the get-go? Like
that's one of the more seminal moments of my life that I can remember. Is since a child, yes, I've wanted to be an actor. I remember my very first role was the troll under the bridge and the 3 little billy goats.
Yes, that's a significant role.
It is. It was very difficult for me, very far from myself, and but I was terrified. I'll never forget. I was like in kindergarten. I was very young, and I had this bright orange wig on, and I was just I had to run out there and do like 2 or 3 things, and then run back off. And I did that a few times, and I remember being petrified. And then I stepped out there. And I did my thing, and the audience just erupted, and I was
addicted.
I was like, "Oh, this is it! This is the thing that I have been, okay,
They
waiting.
love me.
That's
Yeah,
Mestral.
That's exactly what happened to me. I was like 6 years old. I was in my sister's play, and it was Bye Bye Birdie. It was a musical, and I was just like a little townsperson. And I just remember being like, "This is it. This is what I'm doing forever."
just
Just
know, I think,
yeah,
I feel like sometimes you're lucky in life where things strike you and you're just like, this
Mhm.
is me. This is who I am, or at least the
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you moved to Atlanta and you started your career there, basically, and then eventually LA, but like, what were your first impressions of the industry?
um it was you know what, I kind of had a false sense when I first started. When I got back to the city, I found an agency, a great agency that was working with me and wanted to work with me, one of the bigger ones down there. And I booked a commercial my first week, the first week,
Wow.
Nice.
a national commercial. And so I was like, oh, I'll just book a commercial a month.
Yeah, well,
I'll be
it's
fine.
easy.
This is how it goes. This is what I expected. I come out here,
Dude.
my diploma. I'm great. Okay. And it was not that. I booked that one commercial and then like for like a year or two, or
Mm-hmm.
nothing, absolutely nothing. And then, but I always did theater. I mean, I always had a penchant for TV and film, but theater was what I was trained in and raised in. So that's really what I flocked to and what I had the most work in.
Mm-hmm.
Just starting up out there, yeah.
In
You
Atlanta,
know,
right?
Yeah.
have you read The Alchemist?
Oh yes,
You guys
yes.
read? So I just reread it recently, and the guy, the alchemist, I guess, was talking about how when you have your purpose in life, your personal legend, or the thing you're meant to do, you will oftentimes receive beginner's luck to start, and then years, or he just said like a long expanse of time where your struggle kicks in, but beginner's luck is basically the universe validating that you're doing the right thing, and it gives you like a taste of what you're like,
Wow.
oh, what it feels like. And then, because that happened to me when I moved out to LA with music too, I was like already linked up with one of my favorite artist managers, and like going to the Grammy, recording an album. I was like, oh, this is how like within like 6 months of being here. And then that fell apart. But it's like, I rereading that book like a month ago, I was like, that's interesting, because it's basically like a little nod of like, yes, this is what you're meant to do, and we're going to give you a taste of what it feels like, and then you're going to have to work harder for it.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes I think it's okay if you come to the realization that it's not your thing,
Right.
or you just want to put it down for a little while.
Yeah.
We're such expansive people. I think sometimes we can definitely pigeonhole ourselves. But I really like that idea. I think because it really tests you to be like, at least for me, for myself, my thought on acting and this industry and this career is that it is a marathon. It is not something that I ever expected, or that I even still expect some grand fame and riches and fortune from. I love what I do. I love creating characters. I love being on set. I love theater. I wish there was more theater out here, but that can limit other opportunities. But yeah, this is not a fair weather thing for me. This is not something that that whether it's going good or bad, I'm floundering on. Like this is it for me. This is who I am, and I truly feel anyone with that frame of mind, they will find what is meant for them.
Yeah. Did you ever consider? Obviously you did, but like, why didn't you go to New York for theater? If why LA over New York?
That was another special moment in my life growing up, in college specifically, studying theater. It was kind of taboo to say, I want to do film. I want to do television. Like it was frowned upon almost.
Wow.
Oh, you want to do like microwave stuff? Okay, that's
right.
And I remember one day in class, one of my classmates, he just like, we were talking about our aspirations, and he just straight up said, I want to do film. I want to do TV and film. It was the first time I heard someone like express it out loud and to be like, yeah, that's the dream. Yeah. Like that's, and not be ashamed about it, to be like, why is there shame on that? Like,
it's just like, there's certain areas of industries that kind of like hold the monopoly on like, well, we're the intelligent actors. It's like jazz musicians. It's like, well, we're the intelligent musicians. Like, this jazz
You
solo.
really know the
It's just
artistry of it, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems, I mean, obviously I'm not an actor, so I kind of want your guys' input. I know that there's, and like classical music versus, you know, there's things like that, but you're all just different fingers of the same hand, but certain fingers think they're better than other fingers.
And that's really interesting. I didn't know that about. So there's jazz snobs. That's really.
Yeah, but like, is that what it was kind of like, what you're describing of like, to say you wanted to do film and TV was like, oh, you want to go Hollywood essentially and not the real craft, serious craft?
Yeah, and it took people having their own courage to be like, no, you know, I'm very interested in this, and it was an interesting time because everything was changing. Like when I graduated, not to age myself, but like the iPhone had just came out. So like it was the first year that the iPhone, so everything was changing. And like I was a child of TV. Like I was a latchkey kid, as they say. My parents worked a lot and I was left alone, and I watched a lot of film and TV. And that's what shaped a lot of my things, for better or for worse, and things I've had to go back and, you know, correct for myself. But it was always an aspiration for me. And specifically coming from where I came from, it was my silent ticket out of. I didn't come from the best neighborhood, or I had a great family, but where I was just a little dangerous. It was a little dangerous. Yeah. And I grew up in fear a lot as a child, and this dream for me was my way out. It was really my ticket out, and it was an escapism for me.
Yeah.
And so it's always, acting has always been there for me. It's not something that I really look for, like, to serve me. Like it helps me out to exercise things.
Yeah.
It's always been a safe haven for me. Yeah.
I love that.
Interesting. I wonder if you can relate to this too when it comes to theater, because I got my BFA too, and I'm from the East Coast, so I had all theater training before coming out here, and I love theater so much. But I think the thing about it for me was you don't make money doing it. It's really hard to make money in theater, and it's like you will have your soul fed from it, but not necessarily your stomach, because you can't afford anything. Especially in New York, which is like, I mean, LA is expensive, don't get me wrong, to live in, but New York is just another level.
And I guess I didn't choose New York also. I can't handle the cold. I just can't.
Nope.
I'm not a cold person, so I just knew I wouldn't make it. It was going to be harder than I wanted my life to be.
Yeah.
So what were your first gigs besides that like national commercial? And I share that too. We have a very similar story. My first year I booked a national AT&T commercial, and then nothing for years. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, I've always just been a real, I mean, not to, over it, but like I've hustled a lot at this game. Like even in Atlanta, like I was, any opportunities that I felt I could use to sharpen myself as an actor, or I started to learn the importance of networking. It's something I don't feel like I quite got in Atlanta. I was still very like, my art should speak for itself and people will see. You get over that, but
no one's gonna see.
No one's gonna see you, bro. You better get out. If you want them to see, you better wave your hands.
Right.
But any opportunities that I felt were interesting, and that was the thing. It connected me with such a great community of people. I did this web series when web series were first like getting started and popping. Like I think Issa Rae was like, her Awkward Black Girl series was at the height of its popularity. So this great creator, writer that I know in Atlanta, I think he's actually moved now, but his name is Jay Ali. And he had this concept for a web series called Black and Single. And it was something that he created in his head. It was like a comedic kind of love series that would each episode would focus one on the male protagonist, one on the female protagonist, and I was the male protagonist. And it was just this great time. And he would write things, and the city really got behind it, and we got like hundreds of thousands of views. And it was like,
wow.
From that, I saw the importance of making your own work, because at that time, none of us were getting the work that we wanted, even though, as you were saying, there were things happening in Atlanta. There was a wall. So we made our own stuff, and that to me just showed the gusto that you have to make it in this industry. You have to make your own stuff.
And it's also empowering in a way. I mean, too, because you're like, I mean, like you said, it's both, because it shows you like, well, you really have to work hard, but if you do, you can create your own opportunities.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just the importance of, you have to have an artistic community, man. It's something that I've come to just really believe. That's why I think people with writing partners succeed.
Mm-hmm.
This is a collaborative effort, and the more you collaborate with good, like-minded people, I think great work comes about.
Yeah.
100%. And I'm just learning that now, because I've been in that kind of headspace of just like, fuck networking. Like I hate it. Like there's so many things that you have to remember and to do, and like how to use your social media in the way that it makes sense. And but I want to.
Social media is a burden for you. Like, is it something that is it a necessary evil?
No, well, I don't know. I compartmentalize it. I feel like I don't put a lot of pressure on myself, but then I'll end up putting pressure on myself for not putting enough pressure on it, if that makes sense. Like I try and make it as authentic to me as possible, but you'll know, like there are actors like more hardcore than we are. We show our projects on our Instagram and stuff like that, but there are actors that are even more hardcore. Like they'll just post their stats. Like these are how many callbacks I had for this year. Like it is like a hardcore actor's Instagram.
What does that actually do for you in the industry if you're posting that on your Instagram?
Well, I mean, I guess it can show how hungry you are, how much you hustle, how much you take it seriously. If you're looking for representation, or if casting directors are like, well, this girl's going to work, or this guy's going to work, like, okay, possibly. Right.
I think that's the overall goal for people, is to say, hey, look, I'm working, keep me working.
Yeah.
Like, look how many callbacks. This is how wanted I am. Right.
And I think also there's a quote from Stella Adler from her book that, to me, I think encapsulates a lot of things in life. But she says an actor goes to class and does all these things in order to build the confidence they need to act. She was basically saying that we all basically have it in us to do the things that we want to do. We lack confidence. And so I think a lot of times, and including myself, I think, I post those things to build confidence in myself and my brand, and people's trust and belief in me. And but like you said, I try to do it in an authentic way, because this is an industry at the end of the day. And if you want to be a part of it, you do have to play it. It's a game, man. You have to play part of it. You do.
It's like putting a resume together. That's what social media is for for creatives. So it's like, and when you're writing a traditional resume, by the time you finish it, you're like, wow, I am really knowledgeable about, like, you kind of like write yourself, you put it all down, you look at it and you're like, kind of boosts you up just to see it all compiled. And that's kind of what social media is for creatives. So what you're saying, like, it lifts you up to see it all in one place and look at and maybe have more appreciation and gratitude for what you've done so far.
Yeah. I want to kind of talk about like our connection and how we met, which was my first voiceover gig. It was a video game called Archangel. And I learned that was your first voiceover gig as well.
Absolutely. Honestly, in the audition, I had no idea what it was, or that it was a video game.
No, because the audition was like live action, which makes sense, I guess, because it was mocap and stuff.
Usually, still, you would have a camera in the room. At least for me, I remember. I don't really remember there being a camera.
No, there was no camera. Were you in like a trailer as well for the audition?
It was in a building somewhere.
I think I was in some trailer. Where was I?
I've had trailer auditions now. But, you had Tom there, Tom Keegan, who was the director. Amazing.
Tom wasn't there for me.
Really?
No, it was just the casting director.
That's great.
Well, no,
stick this girl in the trailer over there.
Yeah, I don't know. It was very interesting. It was a trailer. Maybe he was there for the callback. I can't remember. Yeah. Maybe the callback.
See, I don't remember the callback. I know there was one. I just remember that he kept wanting to. He was like, I see on your resume you've done Shakespeare. He was like, so this is Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, sure, I can do that.
Yes.
And we just connected off of that, because Tom is a huge theater guy, and he's one of those directors. Like he would have us warm up before. Do you remember those? Like we would do
Mm-hmm.
little warm-ups, and that's not something you run into a lot out here. Like you have to be a very self-sufficient actor, I found in LA. Like the theater or somewhere where you come together and you rehearse a lot of times and you warm up together. Out here, it's like, are you ready? Okay, go.
Yeah.
And if you're not, they don't care. They don't care.
Yeah. Yep.
What was also cool about that, and we've done voiceover work like after that, but that was such a cool first experience because I know because the other actors that were with us, they were like, this like never happens. Like we were all together in the same room for our first day, which was so cool.
Yeah.
And an actual studio, which for voiceover, that's kind of rare because it's just you in the booth and like you do your lines, you do your ABC, like, and you move on. But this was cool. And I think this is why Tom's so great, is that he liked our theater background so much. And he liked that live energy that happens when you're collaborating and performing with your co-stars.
It's such a different energy in this, in the studio with, like, even with music, a lot of times people just record their parts and send it in. And then you just, the engineer puts it together. But it's like, if you're in there playing together, it's different.
I was going to ask about that, musically. So it would seem so. Like if you're having a jam session, it has to feel.
Oh yeah, way more. And you play off each other's energy. But it's funny because all the time, there's major collaborations, major artists, like, oh, Rihanna and so did this song, and like people assume, they picture them like recording the song together. No, it's like Rihanna sent this in from London, and then the guy's engineer, like,
just plug them into.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's a different vibe.
So when you were doing the mocap and all that stuff and doing the work, what was your first experience of doing all that?
Man, it was, I remember on the first day I was running a little late. That's what I remember. I remember
Were you
trying to gun it there. Yeah, I think I made it on time, but I was like, because I live in Glendale and it was like in Santa Monica, and it was just
I'm in Glendale now. Yeah, I can't.
Oh, yeah. It could be a trek going down to the airport, but it was magical for me. I mean, growing up, I was into a lot of escapism as a child. I watched a lot of TV, I watched a lot of movies, and I played a lot of video games, and that was something that kept me it kept me safe inside, and so I was always a gamer, and I had dreams, I had aspirations on doing voiceover and video game work. I'd done voiceover work, but never video games. And I always thought that was something that I was like, oh, maybe if I ever get enough credits under my belt and someone, thinks I'm somebody, maybe I can get in a video game. So it honestly was a dream for me that I thought would happen.
That's so cool.
Maybe years down the line. So after doing that audition with Tom and then getting it and then realizing it was, first of all, it was Skydance Interactive's first video game.
Shout out. I love them. I love Nico.
Yeah. Oh my, and the people we met there, just the most gracious and talk about collaborative. And I know they all work in separate spaces, but when they work as a team, it was just, it was one of the most, like, I don't know, just heartfelt environments that I had been in. And Tom was such an actor's director. Like he knew how to get you where he wanted you, or to at least get you to play. And so that experience was great, doing all the T poses and having the suit on, and
fun.
Yeah, we're doing the mocap with you. It was so funny.
What's mocap?
Okay, so mocap is motion capture. So the game that we did, and you did Walking Dead. Did you do the mocap for that too?
Yeah, I did. I've done Resident Evil 2, 3.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for sure. But yeah, so basically you're in this like suit, this like it looks like a scuba suit almost.
With like the points of motion and the green.
Yeah, so you have like little like tags, I guess we would call them. Like
I was gonna say those little balls, the
little balls. Yes, ball. Yeah, you would have them all over, and then they would use that for the animation side.
Yeah.
They were capturing all that, so that was just so fun and weird.
Yeah, it's amazing where technology has come, how far it's come. It was amazing to be part of.
Yeah.
So what was it like after booking Resident Evil and then realizing what a staple it was becoming?
Like Resident Evil is a thing.
that to me was my first like, oh wow, this is something of substance that I've actually done, or at least with a fan base that was so fervent. Because I'm a fan of things, so I know what it's like when something comes out, and that was like not a fear, but you want people to like it, you know, because this is so dear to them, and these are like diehard fans, and so. And you have no idea how it's going because the process lasts for so long. Like I think they made Resident Evil over 5 years, and I was a part of like maybe the last 2.5.
Yeah.
And that, you know, they would call you in like maybe, you know, once a month or a skip a month, and then you come in for a week. And so you were getting bits and pieces of the story. And what was so amazing though about that is that even from Archangel, the technology at least they had the technology there to where after we acted, they had it on the screen, like how it would look. It was already rendered out.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really trippy to see. And I'm sure you remember this, like you have to use so much imagination because you're just in a giant empty warehouse that they call a volume. The space is just a giant empty space called a volume. And they have basically these like craftsmen there who will build things for you. If you need, like, if there's a wall that
an obstacle or like something to put your foot on. Yeah.
A bench, they'll just be like, oh, give us like 1 minute. And you hear them like pop, 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 just using the hammer bench. And you're like, wow, okay, let's go. So it is like theater in that way, to where all you have to worry about is the acting and being in the moment. And you can have such small moments too sometimes because of how detailed the machinery is. It's really trippy. It's a really trippy way of acting.
Yeah. Oh God, that's so cool. And you were talking about the fan base of it all. Like you've done conferences, you'd call them, right? Like
conventions.
Thank you. Conferences.
Yeah. And it was interesting too, because by the time the conventions really started to happen, like COVID kind of came around. So they were mostly virtual, man. That was the really unfortunate part about it. But we did get to go, like, before everything locked down. Like we were nominated for Game of the Year at the Video Game Awards. We got to go to that, and that was just such a blast. Like I think Steph Curry showed up. I think Green Day performed. It was like,
that's so cool.
Show. It was so random, but yeah, I felt so blessed to get that opportunity. And like you said, the fans. I started also, like I said, I was already a gamer, so when the game came out, I just started streaming it, and just a huge fan base flocked and really started supporting me. And like they're literal friends to this day now. Like I write on Twitter and they reach out to me, and so it's been an amazing community, and I don't take it for granted at all. Yeah.
I mean, after all that success, like, and you do, you know, on camera stuff too, like, but I feel like, do you have, I don't know, a certain like place in your heart for voiceover? Like, is that something you want to, Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, to me, that would be like, if I could lock that down as like my money-making job, I would love to do. I have like kind of my home studio set up, but I would love to have an actual booth and all the recording equipment. But I've always loved voiceover. I would love to do animation as well, like you know, all the way up to, you know.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so cool, like Pixar and exactly. That's so fun. I feel like for voiceover acting, that's kind of like that's like the magic spot, because you can still go to the grocery store and not be bothered, but you can be like raking in the dough like so much and just like stacking, but no one knows your face, so you're just like, you don't have to deal with you don't have to go through the hair and makeup chair. You don't have to use
in your pajamas, and you have your tea, get in the booth. Oh my God, it is.
How about you? Is that something you found has you continued doing voiceover?
Yeah. I did more stuff with Skydance, and it's so funny because I didn't know what part I was in Walking Dead, because I don't know if you had the same experience, but like I did a little bit in like, I forget what year, and then a couple years later I did more.
Right.
Did you do this? Yeah, I don't know. It was like they had like a gap.
It was kind of mine was kind of I played one character, and so they had me do his stuff, and then I did like some background stuff. So you'll Every being like the little, you like the guy, the henchman in the back.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And that was cool because did you do face cap for that? Because like the other ones, I didn't do the face one.
You know, thinking back, I'm not sure I did do mocap. Once you asked me that, I was like, did I do mocap for that one? I think I might have just done VO for The Walking Dead. I think they already had the mocap for that. So I was just in the studio, I think, for that one. Yeah.
It was really bizarre because I didn't do well. I think I was in the full suit, but I don't think they were, because I wasn't at a warehouse. It was just in the room in the booth, but they had cameras and it was just my face.
Ah, okay.
So that was a different experience. And yeah, that was weird because it was just all face and you're just doing all these weird things. But I was like recently trying to find, because I was working on my VO reel and I was trying to find bits from Walking Dead to add to it. And our characters kill each other and no matter how you play.
Who did you play? Oh, okay.
Her name's Teresa. She's only involved in your scenes, in your character's scenes. So like you're the guy, I don't know, I forget what guy, like you were like you were like, we got to kill this guy. I don't know.
Because the guy killed my son or something like that.
And I didn't know, I knew you were in it, but I didn't know who you played. And then as soon as the part came up, I was like, oh, that's Chris.
I'll have to replay that part now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like one of your henchmen, basically. But on the Wikipedia for Walking Dead, we are on there and it's like, how does our characters die? It's like either my character kills you or your character kills me.
Really?
Which is funny.
I had no idea. I've never checked the wiki things. I have to go look that up.
Yeah, you gotta look it up. It's so fun. But voiceover is just so fun. I've learned that I think that's where I really want to end up. I just love the freedom of it. I love I don't know. I feel like the freedom of it is the best way I can describe it, because I love not having to worry about how I look like, and especially as an actor or even just like as an actress, aging is such it's a thing in our industry, right? It's like
I'm noticing this white hair that
I've been coloring for years. So I feel like I love not having to worry.
So the person who's gonna look like 15 until you're like 85.
Nah, man.
You've got the genes, you got the genetics.
Yeah.
We both do. But like still, I mean, I just love not having to worry about that, and you can do whatever, and you can have so much range, in voiceover work, because you can be little kids, you can be an old wizard, you can be this or that, and not have to worry about what you look like.
Podcasts are really taking off. I mean, you're kind of fulfilling this aspect of your life, and now they have those. I don't know if you've heard of them, like these narrative podcasts that they're kind of creating TV shows out.
So that's what I'm working on now, actually. Like, So like I said before, I was like, I just started, like, I'm like, I gotta write. I've never been confident in myself as a writer, but I just started with some friends writing a narrative podcast, like an audio drama.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's in baby stages, but it's like, it's so fun. It's like now to have control over your artist's life is just amazing.
Absolutely. I think writing, just to speak on that for a little bit, as an actor, I think writing in my most recent years has been the biggest thing to help me access a lot of parts of myself. I think every artist, regardless of the medium, and I feel this way about all mediums of art. I think if you paint, you can relate things from painting to singing. I think if you sing, you can relate things from singing to acting. Like, they're all parts of the same like facet and coin. And so when I write, I feel like it not only connects me more to myself emotionally and as an artist, but it allows me that when I'm reading someone else's text, I feel like it allows me as a writer to be like, okay, what were they trying to achieve? But what is happening here factually, what is happening here emotionally, like it adds another layer of just perception to your craft. So I think writing is very pivotal for an actor.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you can relate to as a singer, Molly. You know what I mean? Like writing your own stuff.
Oh yeah, I would feel so disjointed from my craft as a singer if I didn't write my own music. Well, I know a lot of people don't regularly. For me, that's just like ingrained, and that's how everything started for me, all together at the same time, like writing and singing and all this. But yeah, I do notice also with other art forms, well, like in these interviews, for example, I'm not acting, but a lot of what you guys are saying, I've already like related to music twice or something, because I'm like, oh, it's like this, because the craft, no matter what your craft is, the process of the craft you follow the same kind of like pathways, I think. And so whether you're acting or you're like, even when photography is one of my biggest hobbies. And when I'm editing photos and using Lightroom and doing all these things, like bring up the shadows and the brightness and the noise and the contrast, it's like sound engineering. And it's very much just like, oh, like this is a really sharp, like this hi-hat is really sharp and crisp, and this kick is really rounded and like boomy. So you need like both of it's the same, like visuals and audio. And so yeah, the more we expand other areas of our creativity, it really just like brings up the vibrancy and everything else we're doing.
I want to ask, as a writer, a music writer, do you write for other people as well? Or...
You know what? I haven't. And that is one of my big career goals. That's like one of the things I've started even like saying out loud this year and thinking, like, because writing is one of my favorite parts of the process. And there's a lot of stuff that I write that I just don't use for myself, you know, and I write poetry too. I've kept a journal my whole life. I read, I'm the biggest book nerd. So I'm just like, words are everything to me. So that's a huge goal of mine. I want to write, I want to get my songs with some major artists, and I really want to do that. Mm-hmm.
I've always found that aspect of music very similar to acting, because I would find it difficult if I am a writer for myself to try to write in the voice of someone else. I'm not sure if that's always the goal. Maybe you just want to disguise your voice enough and give it to them, or is it like learning them and, you know?
A lot of times what it is there's so many different approaches, because a lot of times you write a song and then you pitch it to artists and then they select it. So it's not even like, but if you're aiming for a certain artist, of course, then there's like, you might choose a subject matter, or the most I've done, it wasn't writing a full song for someone else, but it was writing over. So my friend's a rapper, he made a beat and he was like, he had like 2 lines for a hook in his head and told me the concept of the song. Like, it's about being in a long distance relationship and it's kind of falling apart, and imagine like just being on opposite sides of the planet from one another. And then he just had me write the song. So I wrote the verses and the whole song. And that was the first time I'd even had someone like hand me. So he handed me the concept and a specific concept, but I still got to use my way of like, I felt like I was writing a song for myself, because I was just like, okay, I'm writing about this. That was a new exercise though, because it was like, okay, writing about being, you know, on opposite sides of the planet with someone I'm in love with. I haven't done that. But it was an exercise, but it wasn't too structured where I was like, felt like I had to, okay, how would this person say this, you know, or,
yeah.
And then there's things like, you guys know, so when I very first heard Rihanna's song, Shine Bright Like a Diamond, I was like, when I first heard it, I was like, do you guys know the artist Sia?
Yeah.
Sure,
I love her. I've loved her voice for so long. And I was like, this is Sia. This sounds like Sia. And I thought it was her. It was a brand new song. And then they were like, yeah, it's Rihanna. It's new. And I was like, what? So then I Googled it when I got, obviously I believed them, but I Googled it and I was like, and Sia wrote the song. Yeah. Sia wrote the song. And then I served her at the restaurant Alyssa and I worked at, met Sia, served her and I was talking to her. Somehow that came up and I was like, when I first heard that song, I thought it was you. And she's like, you know what? My manager played me the song after she recorded it. And I thought it was me. I said, no, play me Rihanna's version. And it was like, but what happens oftentimes, because she just sang the demo, she was a songwriter in that instance. So you sing the song you write. And if an artist gets it and they're moved by it because of how you sang it, they will oftentimes like emulate how you sang it. Because that's what Rihanna was doing. Because she kind of was like, oh, she emulated the tones and everything of Sia. So there's like a lot of different ways that you don't necessarily, you're not put in a box of like, I have to do it like this person or.
Yeah. I think they call it, is it a reference track?
Usually? Yeah. Okay. Reference track, demo, but and then, you know, there are obviously times there's people that sing demos that they're really not singers. Sia's a singer, of course. So like, you know, then the artist could she could take it and make it her own or whatever. But yeah, it's interesting process.
I'm always blown away by musicians and singers. It's one of those talents to me where you can't fake it. You know, like it's
When ours is like just faking it.
yeah, I feel like I fake it a lot of times.
I don't know though, you guys, the amount of artists that are like auto-tuned and there's studio singers. You can't fake live. You can't fake doing it live.
True.
So it's probably that. I mean, you can't really fake acting. How do you fake acting?
I think you can phone it in. I think there's certain, you know, tropes and things that you can do to phone it in.
Yeah.
Feeling it all the time, which it's impossible, I guess, to feel it. I think more so in theater, it's harder to recreate every night something. I think it's easier because you're kind of just doing a one shot kind of deal.
You're right.
But, it's you can phone it in. I think absolutely.
It's funny because like you say that about musicians, but that's how I feel about actors, but it's because we know our crafts. So it's like, no, I'm like, a lot of people are out there on the radio that can't really sing. Like they're faking it all the time. But you guys are like, oh, well, there's ways to phone it in. And I'm like, how? You're acting. Yeah, but I did want to ask, kind of going back, we're talking about podcasts as a medium. And so Check It, I wanted to ask you like what inspires, you have a podcast, and kind of go into that with us and what inspired that.
Sure. Yeah. Again, this was during a time where I wasn't working acting wise as much as I wanted to, and the pandemic was in full swing, and I was just in my house, and I was already streaming at that time. Like I said, I started streaming Resident Evil 2 when it came out, and that was going really well. I was on Twitch with that. But I consume so many things because I love movies. I'm a real cinephile. I love TV. I love films. I love a good storyline. I love a documentary. So I was just consuming all of this content, and I had no one to really talk about it with sometimes. And so I was like, man, let me find some outlet for this. And so I came up with this idea of just, you know, little short, entertaining takes on things that I was into, or it didn't have to be recent. It was just things over time that I felt really moved me, or
it's like under 5 minutes, right?
Usually, yeah. I try to keep them very short. I think I started to get them maybe up to 9 or 10 minutes. There was one where I did like 4 different documentaries, so that one might be a little lengthy. But it started really garnering some things. Like this one show that I focused on called Mr. In Between, which was on FX. I was watching it and I was really digging it, and it was coming to an end, and I was like, you know what, let me do a little show on this. And I did it, and the director actually reached out to me, and he was like, hey man, I listened to your podcast and I really appreciated all the love. And it was actually wow. See, now I feel horrible. He's I have to look up his name, but he was actually going to be directing this other project that I'm in called Gaslit, which is coming out on Stars. And he had to actually bow out on it. Yeah. And so we made connections off that, but it was just amazing to see like this little show that literally like, I was getting like dozens of views on YouTube, maybe. Like if you just, I think, and I do believe in that. I think if you point your energy in ways, it garners things, man. And like you said, if you keep it, as you said, Alyssa, I think if you keep everything genuine, like I wasn't doing this because I thought maybe I could get him. Like I just genuinely,
of course,
show, you know, and so that's really how I move a lot of times in my life. I trust my gut, I trust my instinct, and I move off that a lot of times. Yeah,
that's amazing. And you had another podcast with your wife, right? Who's also an actor.
Yeah, her name is Joy Brunson. We're actually not married, but
girlfriend.
Yeah, no worries. And she's done so much more than I have. It's just I would call her a success. I'm sure she would be more humble about it. But yeah, she also has a school called The Joy of Acting that she started. Like, she's just a very ambitious person. And so yeah, we have a podcast called Stream the Quarantine, again, born out of our boredness in the quarantine, and it just gave us something to do. It gave us something to own, as you all know, with this great podcast
that's definitely us.
And I would love to hear that journey as well. Like, how did this come about for you all? Yeah,
this was before the COVID. Like, we were like, let's just do this because we talk all the time, and we were just like talking about so many different things. And
then I got fired from our job that we were looking at together, and then I was like,
true.
Well, what are you doing now? A fire story too. I could talk about that for sure.
Yeah. And it was basically just like, let's just do this. You know, who fucking cares if no one listens? Let's just you know, do what we do anyway and have fun with it and expand our minds, I guess,
like
you know,
try to create a community.
yeah.
Exactly.
And then the pandemic happened and then we were like, oh, this is not how we planned this. Like we didn't know this was just going to be a Zoom thing. But it kind of worked out because we thought we were just going to have to do local interviews, but now like we're like, wait, yeah, let's just reach out to wherever in the world.
Setup now is great, like, you know, virtually. That's how I've been booking a lot of my stuff too nowadays. Like honestly, I don't want to go back in the room.
Do I?
That's what Alyssa was saying.
It's so funny.
Especially for commercials. Like I do not want to drive 40 minutes.
Oh my God,
bro. And no.
I know. We just did an interview with an actor, Joe, who's next week. So listen up, SOSers. That'll be next week's episode. But he misses being in the room. And there's a lot of actors that are like that. It's like, our friend Milan told me the same thing. He's like, but people who I've heard say that are like extremely extroverted and very like animated. And I don't know if you are that way, but like Milan is, and Joe was saying he is too. So it's like, they really rely on that, like connecting that way. Whereas it's like everyone has a different way to connect to people.
Yeah, that's really, I find I would of course I would love to be in the room for things like television roles, bigger dialogue things. I think that energy matters, but
100%.
Commercials though, yeah. And
it's not a lack of respect for commercials. Commercials are amazing. They pay great. The people on them are fantastic, and I want to do commercials, but just the amount of effort I felt I was putting in before and what I was getting out of it just was,
that sounds worth it. I didn't even think about that. Like you drive 40 minutes and like take a half day off work or whatever you're doing, and then read one line, and then
if you're even doing that, like most of the time they're just like, what's your favorite, you know, season? And like, what do you like to do during the summer? I like to go swimming. Okay, thank you. And you know what I mean? That's it. And you go home. And that's the audition. You're like, I took off of work for this.
Yeah. Really, it can feel really abusive of your time as an actor. They try to make you feel like, well, it's an opportunity. So you could, and I think the pandemic has really forced a lot of people to take a look at that and say, like, should I be susceptible to that? Should I like, make myself go through that? And I for one, don't think that that is worth my effort and time.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%, especially for commercials that are so quick. You know what I mean? It's like you can get it from a self-tape and a Zoom callback. You can definitely gauge.
And that's like I've just had horror stories showing places and there's no parking, and then there's something shooting, so I can't walk through there. I've got
I've had
they're not ready. I show up, they're not here, and it's like, when do I get to say no, bro? This is not cool. Like,
and I had almost gotten fired so many times for being late because I'm coming from auditions or callbacks. Like I've just been really I don't know. I don't know how I wasn't, but I don't know. It's like I'm working in the service industry. Like you should understand that I'm in this industry because of the flexibility, hopefully. Absolutely. But again, I don't know. Some people give you more grace than others when it comes to lateness, and I don't know. It's so hard, and I never want to go back.
Yeah. It's hard work. It's respectable work, man. But I had some very menial physical labor jobs when I first got out here. I can't go back to that.
No. Once you step away, it's like, I can never go back. Yeah. But it's not like like I'm above that. I could never, it's like, no, my spirit would actually just like dissolve if I had to go back into that.
You don't understand.
But I was gonna ask, what are your what are some of your biggest career goals for yourself moving forward?
Let's see. Again, just being vulnerable, being open. I want to do film. That has always been my goal. I love living with a character. And that's the thing with TV. I think TV is a great form of entertainment and a great form, a great thing to watch. Like I love watching TV as well. But as far as an actor, it feels like there's no, I love an arc. I love the completion of an arc. Like as a theater kid and as just a student of writing, like that to me is a complete story. I feel like TV is meant to keep you watching if it's a procedural or something.
Right.
Yeah. Not necessarily there's an end in sight, an arc in sight for your character. You just kind of like go on for the ride.
Right. With TV and film, they've just always felt to me so dynamic and so visceral. And so that's my ultimate goal. I want to do like, and not like huge, it doesn't have to be huge blockbusters, but like even small indies. I just want to do meaningful work, man. And that includes things that I want to write myself. That's another aspect of that question. I want to make my own work. I've been working on this one script in particular about an astronaut, and it's a real story of one of the Challenger astronauts who died, and he just lived a magnificent life.
Wow.
And I've been writing a story kind of about that Mays, William Mays, and
that's so cool. I love true stories. I love learning about true stories through film. That's They're it's I love biopics. I think those can be done very well. So that's something I've been writing, and awesome. But that's kind of my ultimate goal. I would love to have a production house eventually where I can help other people also make content, and so that's really the goal. Yeah, just to make stories that move people.
That's amazing. Do you have advice that you would give to yourself, like new actor right out of college? You know, whether when you just moved to LA or Atlanta, that you wish you knew then?
Yeah. I think for me specifically, I moved a lot, maybe out of fear of not being accepted, or out of fear of I don't know. I felt afraid to connect with people. I think that I'm just a very introverted person. And for most of my life, I've been like that. And again, we are in a very collaborative industry. I've just had to find a way in myself. And I want to be, it's something interesting that I read in this book recently, and it was asking, what is your greatest fear and what does it tell you about your deepest desire? And I think that, and it's something that, like, maybe sometimes you think about, but I had never really posed it to myself. And my entire life, my greatest fear has been, before I thought it was not being known. So I took that as like, I want fame. I want people to know who I am and on stage. But really, when I dug down to it, my fear was not being like seen, being understood, or like my closest family and friends not really knowing who I was, because I was afraid to be fully me. And so I realized that I've been leaning on acting for a long time to fulfill that in me, of like, if all these people see me, then I'm known. But then I realized as I got older, like, no, this is something that you as a person have to take on and be vulnerable with these people that you love, so that you can get to the heart of the situation. So
that's amazing.
I've framed a lot of my life in acting and just breaking down human. It's the study of humanity to me, really. That's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing.
I love that. That's a really beautiful, that's such a good question to ask yourself, because what is your greatest fear teach you about your greatest desire? Is that what it was?
What is your inform you about your greatest desire?
And the way that you even reflected on that for yourself is really interesting, because I remember I had a conversation with my brother a while back, and he said something very similar to you, of just like this moment he had in life where he realized, he said he and I were at a coffee shop, and I said something to him, I don't even know what it was, and it just made him realize that I didn't fully understand a certain thing about him. And then he's like, I just realized, if the closest person to me doesn't understand this about me, then like I really need to take it, like I have to make the decision to open up more to people. It's like I hadn't heard anyone say that before, and then he did, and then it's really just what you just said. So that's interesting. It's like realizing it's your own responsibility at a certain point to let the people you love know you.
And I really believe, you see the world how you see yourself, and you
Mhm.
love people how you love yourself. And I think it's a very hard thing to really grasp. But yeah, I was feeling the world was closed off because I was closed off.
Mhm.
And when I took those steps to open myself up, I saw that it was my perception really that was
Yeah.
keeping me in this cloud of delusion really. Yeah.
Wow. That's it's like a turned into a therapy episode.
Yeah.
That's
Which
what
is
I like to
really,
be,
yeah,
man.
which is what art really is. So here we are.
Well,
Yeah.
before we let you go, I want to give this opportunity, like, to shout out the projects that you have coming up. I know you had posted something about this Hulu show, but I am just, well, I even posted, I was like, "Whoa, Chris, this cast, holy shit!"
It's listen again. It's things booked in the time of COVID. Like the beginning of last year, 2021, or the end of last year, things just really started to take off. So yeah, I have an arc that's going to be happening in the second season of All the Queensmen for Tyler Perry. I have a
Woo!
Nice.
character that's a recurring guest star there, and then I have an episode on the show called Gaslit with Julia Roberts and
Oh my
Sean
gosh.
and yeah, I just booked this show and I just shot my first episode for it called Reasonable Doubt, which is a Hulu exclusive that they're
Jay-Z?
partnering with this. Right, that's what I thought at first. No, 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 it's not the album.
Oh.
When I first read it, I was like, "Is this the
I'm like,
Jay-Z?"
oh shit. It's
Right,
happening.
right,
It's
right.
happening.
I'm out for presidents to represent me. Yes, but no, not what it was. It's this other show called Reasonable Doubt. It's going to be great. It's really fantastic. It's about this lawyer, and it's produced by Kerry Washington and Larry Wilmore, and just
Oh,
these really amazing people, and an amazing cast is in it. And I'm in like the last 6 episodes, I think. So it's just been
This is a
a
lot of like
wonderful
big things. Yeah.
things. Just listen, I practice gratitude, and I like to think that I was grateful when things weren't here, and now that things are here, I also am. So I'm just trying to keep the energy flowing, man, keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on. What a great
Yeah, thank
interview
you.
Yeah.
conversation.
And
I have more questions
congratulations.
for you all, man. I want to know so much more, but thank
This
you
was
so much.
literally like a three-way interview.
Yeah.
Like, so tell me about
It's just
but
artists, just like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean, learning from each other. It's like it's a great opportunity. That's why we love this. You know what I mean? Like just
Mhm.
talking to other like-minded people. It's yeah, we get so much out of it. So thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you so
awesome.
much for this. And congratulations on all your upcoming projects and what you're working on.
I can't wait. I can't
Um,
wait to watch.
yeah, we will definitely stay in touch. It'd be great to have you back on. Be like our
Yeah.
recurring guests, a recurring guest star, if you will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Anytime. I can just be on the couch. I'll throw like little jokes out while you all are.
Exactly. Perfect. Thank you so much, Chris.
That was so good. Chris is amazing.
That was amazing. That was one of those episodes where I forget that we're in the midst of an interview. It just feels like a conversation, like we're sitting at coffee and we're just keep talking. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're recording this. Oh yeah, how long has it been? Like, oh yeah, we should.
Oh yeah, this is our show. We have to be professional and like,
Yeah.
but I mean, not that we aren't, but like, it's just
like such a good flow.
yeah, exactly. When the conversation flows like that, it's
Mhm.
just mwah. And like, thank you, Chris, again for coming on. Again,
Yes.
let's shout out what to look for. We've said it a couple times, but I don't care.
Mhm.
Reasonable Doubt, Hulu, produced by Kerry Washington. Gaslit. It is starring Julia Roberts as well. It's going to be an amazing movie. And then,
Julia.
I love her. And then Tyler Perry's All the Queen's Men. He's got an arc on. It's just so many cool projects.
Yeah.
And he's writing some cool stuff too. So be on the lookout for that. And
Yes.
I want to shout out some things on his website. If you want to go to his website too, ChristopherMWatson.com. He talks about how a lot of the roles that he's played in film and television, he's handled topics ranging from PTSD to domestic violence. And he says that he believes in the power of art and that its ability for change and healing the minds of people. And he has resources on here for all of those things, such as the the National Center for PTSD. Sorry. If you want to go there and donate and learn more, it's ptsd.va.gov. Gun violence prevention, which is www.apa.org, and the National Domestic Violence Hotline, which is thehotline.org. I think those are really amazing nonprofits to check out. And that's so awesome that he puts it on his website and things that he's passionate about because
and
of
things
the role
that he's
played.
Exactly. Things that he's portrayed or had portrayed in his art. And that's the thing, like, you know, we're conveying these messages, and especially in film and TV, you know, when you watch an episode and it deals with like suicide in the episode, and at the end they'll put a hotline number or something like that. You know, I love that he carried that over to his own website. And yeah, so thank you to Chris for coming on. You guys aren't going to want to miss those projects he's working on that are about to come out. It's so big. I mean, he's really doing the thing. So I'm excited for him. Can't wait to watch. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the SOS Pod. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, anywhere. YouTube or on YouTube. Please rate and review us. It really helps us be bumped up in the algorithm. I don't think people realize how much it helps. Like, if you like, what'd you say?
I said we have a Patreon, guys.
Oh yeah, we do have a Patreon. $3 a month, $7 a month, $11 a month really helps us out in trying to grow this community, trying to grow the show. Please join. And I'm Molly Cottrell.
I'm Melissa Rosano.
And here's to turning meltdowns
into magic. I feel that I cut